Addy soldiers. If the light in this video is super weird, you can see all the shadows happening, it's because I balanced my iPhone on my bed with the flashlight on because it's kind of dark outside today, so we'll see how this lighting setup goes. I was trying to describe this one book that I own to a friend, and I was like, that sounds like the craziest, weirdest thing that does not sound real. That can't be real. But it is. So I thought about what are the other really strange books that I own, and I decided that I wanted to do a video about it. So welcome to 5 of the strangest books that I own, that I have read, that I think are great, but just really, really weird. I also decided what would go with a weird video than a delightfully weird lip color, so I chose my Slytherin green. And in case I didn't make it clear, when I'm going to be talking about some really weird books, there are going to be so many spoilers. Like, all the spoilers are going to happen. So if you see one that you're like, that actually sounds kind of interesting, just mute the video, come back later. The book that I was trying to describe to a friend over how weird it was After the Red Rain by Barry Lyga, Peter Facinelli, and Robert DeFranco. This is a dystopian sci-fi novel about a girl who works at a factory and then one day finds this boy in a river. His name's Rose, and he's just kind of chilling out there. I should also mention this world is so far in the future that there's not a lot of organic matter, there's not a lot of trees or, you know, good air. It's one of those classic, like, gotta avoid the government and the world's crumbling to pieces around us, but I'm so in love kind of stories. She keeps finding these weird plant matter, like, bits just around the junkyard. And then you find out that Rose is putting them there, but he's not putting them there because he just happens to have a tree growing in his apartment. Oh no, Rose is a plant. I'm not making that up. Rose, the character, is a genetically modified plant. So he's actually part plant, but he's also kind of a human, but he's... I can't even say it without laughing. Like, it's such a strange concept. So we're in love with the plant, and he is wanted by the government for, I'm assuming, some kind of experiments, and somehow it ends with, you know, them escaping into the abyss, and I don't even know if there ever ended up being more than one of these books. I just never looked into it, because after I finished this one, I was like, what the hell did I just read? The second book on this list is one that I've mentioned a couple of times, at a very near and dear to my heart theme, and that is Vasa in the Night by Sarah Porter. It's about a girl who needs to complete 3 impossible tasks by morning, otherwise Baba Yaga, who is the witch of the story, will do something unspeakable. I love the tale of Baba Yaga. I think it's super interesting, and she's this kind of like swamp witch that lives in this house that has chicken feet and can move. But in here, it's set in modern day Brooklyn, so the house is a convenience store, and she has a couple of undead hands that just like wander around like Addams Family, and her helpers, and then there's some weird like swan creatures, a lot of strange curses. It's a very weird book. It kind of makes sense, but in the very most abstract way that you can make sense. There's a point where she goes into like the back room, but the back room doesn't obey the confines of space and time, so it's like this super weird extra hallway house place that has all these other rooms, and that's when it lost me, because I was like, what? Just, you're gonna have to read it. I know it was on sale a little while ago and in my bargain section of the bookstore that I work at, so if you have an Indigo or Chapters near you, go to the bargain section and pick this up, because it's so strange. Wow, there's a red theme going on in these books that I have, because another very strange book that I read and loved is Scythe by Neal Shusterman. I think this is the least strange out of any of the books that I have on here, but the concept is just so cool and weird that I wanted to include it. So what's super weird about this book is that it takes place in a future where we can't die. We have conquered death. Even if you jump off a building and they literally have to scrape pieces of you off the sidewalk, they can still somehow manage to create another you again with all your thoughts and memories. So it's a very strange world. So because of this fact that no one can die, there are people called Scythes that go around just randomly killing people off for whatever reason they see fit. And of course these are like the justices of this world. And the 2 main characters are Scythe apprentices that get taken on by this master Scythe. I loved the idea of like warring Scythe factions and the undertones of being valiant and just versus just taking power, being able to kill anybody that you want, because you shouldn't It's not a good thing. Power is bestowed upon those who want it least. And the whole thing behind choosing Scythe and names is super cool. If you have read this and you know what I'm talking about, leave your Scythe name in the comments. I think I would be Scythe Lovecraft. Number 4 is the only not read book on my list, and that is Incarcerate by Catherine Fisher. It's so shiny and holographic! So Incarcerate is the name of this maximum security prison that only one person has ever broken out of. And the two main characters are the daughter of the man who created Incarcerate and then a boy who has been sentenced to prison and is now in Incarcerate. And he's trying to get out and she can somehow communicate with him, like telepathically or through dreams. I can't quite remember, it's been a little while since I read this. But the twist ending that makes it so weird is that you go through Incarcerate as this massive, massive place. There's all these different levels. It's kind of like a video game where you can like go through seasons. They have like certain rooms that are dedicated to certain times. They have whole forests in Incarcerate and you're like, where is this place? Is it like an alternate dimension? Is it underground? Like, where is it? It ends up that Incarcerate is this keychain. It's literally a cube on a keychain. So every time that you go there, it's like space and time get condensed down into a keychain, and that's why no one has ever escaped, because you literally can't escape because it's a keychain on someone's keys, and that is where they keep all the maximum security prisoners. I was reading the ending, I was like, what? Catherine Fisher, like, that was a real risk on your part. It was a real mind warp, and I thought it was so cool. And lastly, my 5th book on this list is probably the most interesting of genre mashups, because Dearly Departed by Leah Habel is a dystopian, futuristic, Victorian, historical, zombie, colonial romance novel. Like, in the future, the zombie apocalypse happened, but also just the regular apocalypse happened, so like global warming came into play, so everyone started moving to the equator because it was warmer. But then as we got further south, we started going back in time in like fashion and technology, but then we still kept the futuristic technology because that stuff's cool and we need that to live, and we like indoor plumbing. But we still went back to colonial era, but then also down there's zombies, and then some of the zombies aren't like super zombies, so we use them as part of the army, and the main character falls in love with one of these army zombie soldiers who like saves her from actual zombies, and it's just, do you hear me right now? Like, this is so weird. But actually, this was kind of a good book. Like, it has so many strange elements to it, but oddly enough, the writer pulled it off. Like, I believed it, and I actually quite liked some of the technology. I thought some of the new little tweaks were really neat. Like, at some point, I think she's describing parasols and how there's a couple walking and the girl has a parasol and it was glowing pink, which meant that they were courting, and if it was glowing blue, that it meant that she was single, and if it was glowing green, it meant that she was like already married. I'm pretty sure this is a series. I'm not really sure why I never read the other one, so maybe I should just go to my bookstore and pick up this entire colonial, futuristic, Victorian zombie romance novel. So there you are. There are my top 5 strangest books that I own and have read. Please leave down below some of your weird, strange books, because they're some of my favorites to read. They make no sense. They just mess up your mind, but at the same time, they're so fun to talk about because you're like, let me tell you what I just finished today. I think this lighting thing actually like kind of worked out, but I'm pretty sure my battery is at like 2%, so I'm gonna just log off now. I hope you guys are having a nice day wherever you are, and I will see you all next week. Bye!